The type of things we tend to focus on in longevity, supplements, superfoods, rapamycin, they're all kind of short-term fixes, and they're things with enormous profit-making potential. And they don't tend to make your life any better. I think even if these longevity supplements actually worked, and by the way, none of them have proven to work in humans, in many cases, they would just prolong a shitty life, working really hard all the time. I think of these longevity bros in Silicon Valley, and they're not all bad, but, I often think they aim at the wrong target. But the things that really help you live longer and I think make you happier are knowing and living your sense of purpose, connecting socially, contributing, spending time with your kids, which it's hard to make money off that.
The biggest factor, I would say, if I had to boil down all of happiness research into 2 words, I think the biggest factor in happiness is social connection. Sounds like it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in longevity too. So that I guess that would be my answer.
You've done a lot of research and experimentation, and a lot of it is in sort of the positive psychology. Of all the research that you've innovated, what are the things that you're most proud of, or most you feel have been the biggest contribution into helping others?
Well, for the last about 25 years, my students and I have been doing happiness interventions, which are like clinical trials, but instead of testing a vaccine or a medication, we test happiness strategies. And we mostly have focused on gratitude interventions, kindness interventions, and kind of social interaction interventions. So we ask people to express gratitude on a regular basis, see what happens. We ask people to do acts of kindness on a regular basis. And we ask people to just sort of act social. And all of those together. So I feel like the biggest contribution of those, first of all, it's nice to validate that, helping others makes people happier. Expressing gratitude, appreciation makes people happier. But the bottom line is all of those activities make people feel more connected, right? So when I write a gratitude letter to my boss, I feel more connected to her. When I do an act of kindness for you, I feel more connected to you. So then we started doing research on just asking people to act more social, just sort of have more social interactions, have a conversation. So I guess I'm really proud of that we've sort of, that's where we've landed on, that really the key to happiness is social connection. And what's the key to social connection? How do people feel connected? Well, you can feel connected when you're dancing with someone, right? You can feel connected through touch. You can feel connected through eye contact. But most people, at least in our culture, feel connected mostly by talking. That's kind of that's sort of the currency of our
yeah.
And so we started studying conversation. So now we're doing studies where we're asking people just to talk to a stranger or talk to a friend. And then we started studying listening. So what's one of the keys to conversations is really good listening. And I have a new book with my colleague Harry Reese coming out in February 2026 called How to Feel Loved. And in that book, we're going even deeper into sort of how to have conversations, how to change your conversations in a way that makes you feel loved and makes the other person feel loved. And that involves one of the keys is really good listening. Another key is curiosity, showing real genuine curiosity in the other person. I mean, how often does that happen? Actually, it doesn't happen that often. Last time you went to a party, when was the last time you went to a party or a dinner and someone was so curious about you, right? They just couldn't wait to hear your story, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't
you can tell when
often.
It's fake too.
Yeah, but really genuine. You can't really fake the genuine curiosity.
Yeah,
and then also really sharing your full self with people, sharing vulnerably, because most of the time we try to impress each other, right? Think of like a first time you meet a new colleague, client, or a date. People are sort of talking about themselves because they want to come off as kind and funny and smart. But that doesn't forge a connection. Y'all might be impressed when you're telling me about all your accomplishments or making jokes, but I'm not necessarily going to feel connected to you. So what makes me feel connected to you is if you share a little bit more of your sort of real self. Well, I don't like the word real self.
Okay. All right, we'll just do a little test here. So make me feel more connected to you.
So we could talk a little bit more vulnerably, I guess, about our lives or what we're thinking and feeling. So for example, I might ask you or I might share with you some things that we're struggling with. So I can start. I'll start.
Yeah.
So
struggling with? Really?
one of my biggest struggles actually is anxiety. So I'm a very mentally healthy person, but I do have anxiety. It's not like clinical levels, but I definitely have anxiety. And I feel like it's, quote, rational anxiety in that I'm just juggling so many balls in my life. Like I think almost anyone would be anxious, sort of trying to do so many things. But it does sometimes interfere. It interferes with me sort of being fully present sometimes, right? Because I'm thinking about all the things I have to do. Yeah. So what about you?
Well, I'm here in Los Angeles and having this fabulous conversation with you. But, I realize my aging parents are in Minneapolis and my kids, who are adults. But I often have some guilt about not spending more time with. They don't need me, by the way, necessarily. Though I often carry around guilt that I should be spending more time with my family, having Sunday dinners every Sunday like I had as a little kid. So I think, well, maybe the most important role I have, I'm not doing a very good job of it. So that's my vulnerability. Yeah. I think it's such a brilliant title, How to Feel Love, because you'd think a title, How to Love, is more kind of the self-help, but it just completely flips the script, doesn't it?
Yeah, and by the way, I think one reason it's called How to Feel Loved, we're really focusing on feeling loved, again, as a key to happiness, is that we all want to feel loved. Most people, if you ask them, have at least one relationship in their life where they want to feel more loved than they do. And it could be your adult child, it could be a friend, it could be a colleague, or there are times maybe during the relationship that you don't feel as loved as you want. And a lot of us are loved, but don't feel loved. So you can be loved, but not actually feel loved.
You just might not be hearing it.
Right, for whatever reason. One thought is you can think of sort of attachment, right? So we have this metaphor that people who are anxiously attached, it's like they have a cup of love that you're sort of trying to fill, right? So let's say you're anxiously attached and I'm like showing a lot of love for you and I'm filling your cup of love, but it has a leak in it. And so the love is kind of leaking out. And so you don't ever really feel as loved as you probably would. And if you're avoidantly attached, it's as though the cup of love has a lid on it. And my expression of love isn't quite getting in. And that's just one idea.
That's a great metaphor.
One idea. But yeah, a lot of people don't sort of feel as loved as they can be. So I think, obviously I think it's extremely important. We all want to feel loved.
So if you like that clip, there's a lot more where that came from. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you won't miss our new videos as they come out each week.